Great. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me for this interview. I'm excited and honored. Um, the challenges I faced while building my final capstone project. First of all, the project was supposed to emulate a reward-like project that involves booking appointments for a massage and at a online, like a massage parlor. It was a two-part project, the front end and the back end. The front end was supposed to be built in React, and the back end was supposed to be built in Rails. The back end was a Rails API. This was a challenge for me because first I didn't know anything to do with building APIs, much less building one in Rails. And I was supposed to build a fully functional API, one that communicates with the front end successfully, and I was supposed to do all of this within 5 days. So to me, it was a very exciting opportunity, but also an unsettling one because of all the things I had to do research about within a very short period of time. So I decided to handle this the same way as I had handled all my projects as a project manager in construction, break the project down into smaller goals, smaller achievable goals. So what I did was I broke this project down into two categories. The first category involved projects or things about the project that I was already happy to do. I was already comfortable with doing things that I knew how to do. And most of these were in the front end. So for example, I was comfortable with building various React components. I was comfortable with implementing a state using Redux just to enable all the components to talk to each other, communicate to each other easily. I was comfortable with implementing API requesting and receiving of information in the front end. So I was comfortable with all of that. So I knew that I had to assign less time on that category. And the second category involved all the things that I was not comfortable with yet, things I didn't know how to do. So for example, I didn't know how to build an API. I didn't know how to build an API in Rails. And after reading through the project requirements for the first time, I noticed that this is going to be a project that emulates booking appointments. And booking appointments involves users booking their appointments privately. And whenever you have such a scenario, it almost always means you have to implement a user authentication system. Now, in my experience in Rails, one of the most exciting and most challenging aspects of Rails was always implementing a safe, properly implemented user authentication system. And now not only did I just have to do it in Rails, I had to do it in an API system and make it fully functional with the front end. So I didn't know how to do any of these things. So I decided to put these things in the second category. And I assigned more time to this category. So I assigned 3 days to the things I didn't know how to do. And I assigned 2 days to the things that I already knew how to do. I didn't stop there. I went further and broke down these two categories into smaller goals, smaller goals that are quicker to achieve. For example, in the front end, I had to decide which pages were supposed to take priority in building first than the others. For example, I couldn't build a page that shows details about a specific massage type without building a page that displays all the massage types. So I had to break down into these smaller goals, into, for example, pages, achieve a page at a time, and in the back end, I couldn't build an entire API project, API back end without knowing even how the simple information can be sent across from an API to the front end. So I decided to break it down to smaller goals, achievable goals, like just simply focus on a single table, for example, a list of movies, and find out how to build a system that can send that list of movies to the front end, just as a list of movies. And from there, work our way up to a fully functional API. And as a result, upon implementing, breaking down this project into smaller goals, achievable goals, I was able to meet my deadline. I built a fully functional API. In the process, I found out that you can implement user authentication system in 2 ways in Rails. One was to use sessions, and the other was to use JWT tokens. Sessions was simpler than JWT tokens, and I weighed that since I have a limited period of time, let me first implement the sessions, and later when I'm more comfortable with building APIs, I'll upgrade to JWT tokens. I was able to make endpoints that sent the information across to the front end. I was also able to take it to production because I had to learn how to do it in development and in production quicker. I also implemented testing. I did a test-driven development project. because I was able to know how long a specific goal takes, and I was able not to go beyond that time. So those are the challenges I faced, and that's how I overcame them. Thank you. To tell you about the conflict I met, allow me to take you back to a time when I was still a project manager in construction. After working for a while in this position, I received a client who wanted me to manage a project, of course, for him. But he had one catch with this project. He told me I would have to collaborate with another project manager. And I wanted to express my concern of not doing something like this before. I told him I had never collaborated with the project manager on the same project before. But he was insistent. He wanted me to go ahead and do this. And he even jokingly said, "There's a first time for everything, you know." And he said, "At least I'll learn something out of it." So I took on the job. I was excited because, as well, I didn't know how I was supposed to collaborate with someone on a managerial level. So I was excited to do this. But after doing this project for a couple of days, I started to notice something. I noticed that my colleague, my co-manager, wasn't taking heed to any of my suggestions. And upon close observation, I got the feeling that he didn't even want me to be there. I thought he didn't even want me to be there. He just disregarded all my suggestions completely. So I decided to tell this to my former bosses, to talk to my former bosses, just to give me some bit of advice on how to move forward with this. So I contacted my mentors, I talked to my bosses, and they all gave their pieces of advice. So in the end, I decided to set up a private meeting with my colleague. And at this meeting, I calmly tabled my concern. I told him what I thought was going on. I told him that I think he's not listening to my suggestions, and I think they are good suggestions. And I told him, I also calmly expressed my point, my concern that I don't think he even wants me to be there. And as a result, he opened up and told me exactly what he felt. He told me his opinion. He said that with my limited experience, what could I possibly suggest that he hasn't already covered? I decided not to take this as an insult, but I decided to turn it around and make it work in my favor. So I struck a deal with him. I told him that if he honestly believed that my suggestion, or honestly thought in his opinion that my suggestions did not carry any value, I would be happy to step back. But it had to be an honest deduction. He had to deduce this honestly. And I also went further and asked him a question. I posed a question and I said that if I was truly inexperienced, as he said I was, how was I going to be able to learn new things if people who are more experienced, such as himself, were not willing to teach me? So I guess this struck something within him. It opened something within him, because the next time we worked together, he was very open to my ideas. He was very open to my suggestions. He even encouraged me to make more suggestions on certain situations. And every time I made a situation, he made sure that he calls me aside and tells me the strengths and weaknesses of those suggestions. He further took me to his other projects that he was working on, or he had worked on, and he taught me more things, all in the spirit of teaching me more things. He taught me some of the biggest challenges I will face in the field, how to overcome them, how to always be calm in all situations, and how to always try and make the client happy, whilst also considering the people who are working for me. So, and I'm happy to report that to this day, he is still my mentor and he is still my friend. Thank you very much. To talk about what I would have done differently as a project manager, I think I would have been more understanding earlier in the position than I actually was. This is because that I later found out, got to realize that in a project like a development project, such as construction, such as software development, you cannot always have it both ways. What I mean by that is that a rushed job in these kinds of jobs, development, software development, construction, a rushed job will lead to poor quality more often than not. So for example, take a paint job. A paint job is a job that usually requires a lot of attention to detail, paying a lot of attention to detail. And with paying attention to detail, usually more time is consumed. a significant amount of time is always consumed. And people, I should have been more understanding to this aspect of the job. If you want a job to be done well, especially development jobs, you have to also be willing to sacrifice some more time to make this happen. So I decided after a while in the job that moving forward, after receiving the expected or estimated amount of estimated time of completion from the client, I would also further go to my construction teams, my multidisciplinary teams, and ask for their estimated time of completion, focusing this time on quality. What do they, how long do they think the job will take if they are to do a good job? And after getting both of these time periods, I would sit down, craft an adjusted time frame, and present it to both these parties. Hopefully, hoping that both of them will be happy to work with this time frame. But if one of them was truly unhappy with this time frame, I would later adjust it accordingly. Still having both times presented by both parties, having them put under consideration. I actually got to implement this. And once I created an environment where even the construction teams felt they had a say in the estimated amount of, estimated time of completion, both clients and construction teams got happier because the clients got to receive better quality jobs, and they commended me on that. They told me that I had improved in my jobs, and even now the construction teams got to work with less pressure on them. So they focused more on quality than just finishing the job. And in the end, myself and my team, we had a boost of up to 20% in quality delivered on all my projects. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity once again, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.